Resentment and judgment will kill your relationships, and I'll explain how and why in today's video. My name is Leah Chantel. Welcome back to my channel, and I'm tackling some big topics, judgment and resentment, which seem to be a really big problem on both sides of the relationship equation, whether you're logical, sensitive, man, woman, straight or gay. Judgment and resentment really screw up everybody's relationships. So we're going to tackle what's appropriate in terms of a healthy level of constructive skepticism as you're getting to know a person, and when you're crossing the bridge into resenting the opposite sex if you're into the opposite sex, or judging them on their standards of behavior. Because if you're a logical person versus a sensitive person, your expectations in relationships are going to be different. And the way that you overcome that is through understanding of your opposite and conversation to some extent, but you don't have to communicate everything. Understanding goes a long way. So how do you prevent resentment and judgment from creeping into your relationships and squeezing the life out of them? Well, first of all, you've got to accept responsibility for all your past relationships and whatever happened, even if you're only 5% at fault. I had a client who's given me permission to tell her story, who had an ex who mysteriously broke up with her. And then what happened was he randomly got another girl pregnant very quickly after that relationship ended. And that client happens to be a bit mature and past her prime childbearing years, and it hurt her feelings that he had broken up in an ambiguous way at the time, and she was very judgmental and very resentful of a lot of other men she was dating as a result of this breakup that she hadn't fully processed. And what ended up happening was that her partner just really wanted to have kids, and she wasn't the primary partner in order to give him what he wanted out of that relationship. And when I asked her if she really wanted to have kids with him, she was not crazy about the prospect at all. And so that told me that they just weren't fundamentally a match on values. On the surface, yes, they agreed that they might have children and then it never came up again, but it was really more of a pressing issue than either of them had thought. The ambiguity of the insidious breakup caused a lot of problems. She was really angry and frustrated when she was trying to date new men. And then what happened next was that she kept running into men that manifested her fears, that would behave in very judgmental, very toxic ways, because she was putting the vibe out there first that she expected them to behave in bad ways because of what happened in her previous relationship. And how many of us have had a similar life experience where maybe we not only had a bad romantic relationship, but also we could have had a bad employer or a bad teacher. And we keep putting the vibe out there that we're expecting the next one to be bad, instead of putting out the right vibe and doing the hard work of expecting something to be good. Now, I'm not saying go in blindly and naively and just hope for the best. But what I am saying is work hard, have your boundaries, be willing to say no to what's not good enough, and then see what happens after you've done that hard work, because then the odds go up that you are going to have a positive, healthy relationship and things will turn out well. Some relationship conflicts come up because there are opportunities for us as sensitive people to become more fully conscious of our priorities and what would be a good partner who would match our energy at this point in our lives. And that information has to consistently be updated. Maybe in your 20s, you really were open to a partner who wanted to have children. But as you've matured, you've decided that you don't really want to have children, but you've never consciously thought about it because maybe you feel bad, other people around you want to have children, and you don't want to be the naysayer who rains on their parade and say that you're the one who doesn't want to have children when there's so much societal pressure. And so you have to be really honest with yourself as a sensitive person. If you're not, this alignment in values will not work out well when you're getting into relationships with other people. And then that ambiguous breakup that happens actually happened because of an unconscious belief that you had that you didn't realize was there until it bubbled up to the surface. And so it seems like a mystery at the time, but it's because of something you already know about, but is really buried deep inside of you. So when you do that hard work to excavate your beliefs and understand what your priorities are today and update them, it's not one size fits all. Not everybody's meant to have children, and not even everybody's meant to get married in a formal setting. You should decide what priorities feel right to you. You shouldn't just decide on default that you should get married the traditional way and you should have children because other people around you are doing that. You have to reflect really deeply on whether that aligns with you now at this phase of your life or not. Otherwise, your failed relationships will reveal to you those life lessons that you haven't uncovered in your belief system yet. And then when you do understand what your true values and priorities are at this point in your life, you'll stop judging and you'll stop resenting anyone you're dating because you've become aware of what your priorities are at this point in your life and it's updated. It's not some old value system that you grew up with as a teenager that you actually need to reflect on and reevaluate in this phase of your life. And when you realize what your true values are and what your true yes and your true no is in relationship, that's going to open the door for a really healthy partner to come in. That's when you get the partner who's truly aligned on your values. But if you don't do that hard work, you may get partners who will reject you and who will treat you badly, and you won't really know what the reason is consciously, but unconsciously you do know what the reason is. So the solution to that is to explore your belief system deeply and reflect on what you truly want after a breakup. Be brave enough to have opinions about subjects where other people in your life are not going to agree with you. It doesn't mean you have to broadcast your different opinions to those others who don't agree with you. You can keep them to yourselves just as long as you're aware of what your priorities are and you are ready to share those priorities with your partner. Not everybody is suited to having children, especially nowadays. Some people may have health conditions, or maybe they're chronically plagued by debt, and it could be because of the schooling they went to. There's just so many reasons we may have different priorities in this era than the traditional priorities that were passed down to us from our parents or grandparents, and it's okay to have different priorities. But when it's not okay is when you have different priorities deep down that you're not willing to reflect on and share with your partner. Your partner will pick up on that and will likely break up with you if they don't agree with you or they sense that there's a misalignment in your values between the two of you. They'll energetically feel that even if they're logical, and they'll gravitate towards someone else who really does align with those values. Like the example of my client who ended up getting broken up with because her partner really did want to find a partner who was able to have children right away. It doesn't make you wrong or bad as a potential partner, but what it means is you have to find a partner who's a great fit for you. Maybe you want the partner who doesn't really want to have children, and maybe that's the partner that you're meant to be with for the rest of your life and who's going to be loyal to you. And maybe your previous partner who really did want to have children ended up having children and becoming divorced and having different life lessons of their own, but then ending up with children in their lives. And that's not a bad thing for them. We all have different life lessons and different life journeys that we have to accept and go through. And when we embrace our own and we're really true to ourselves, that's the real gold of our life lessons. And that's when our lives start to exit from victimhood and to a place where we're truly empowered and feeling good about our lives.